hearts when the transfer portal liberalized about 2 years ago, that was going to be a game changer for us. We had had a great basketball season, and when the season ended, literally half the men's basketball team went into the portal and transferred to greener pastures, which I respected for the good of them individually. I wish they would have stayed, but I understand when you're 19 years old and being offered $150,000 to go play for someone else, it's hard to say no to that, and I can't compete with that. So we're at a point today where we're making a decision, we have made a decision for the good of our student athletes and for the good of our university community. I know though that it is a tough decision. So we're making headlines right now because we're going to be reclassifying a year from now. And that is a great thing for the institution. But in the here and now, my focus is on our student athletes. I have student athletes who are hearing of this decision for the first time as of 11:30 this morning. This is tough news for many of them to hear. I'm proud of our athletes. I was a faculty member here for 12 years. And our D1 athletes were some of my best students because they were very disciplined and very focused. So this is hard on the entire community because the fabric of our institution is going to change. But I'm committed to helping our student athletes through this process. What I'm saying to our student athletes and what I'm saying to our coaches is, it's not you, it's us. The world of D1 has changed around us, and we're making this change for the good of student athlete welfare. When a student comes to St. Francis, whether a student athlete or a classic student, I want them to have the best experience here that they can have. In this day and age, I'm up against a transfer portal, I'm up against name, image, and likeness, and the geographic footprint of our current athletics conference is very large. And again, I love being a member of the Northeast Conference. Practically speaking though, our students spend a lot of time traveling, when they could be spending more time on campus developing relationships and friendships and so forth. So the end game is to be a championship Division III school called St. Francis University. In the meantime, I want to make clear to my student athletes that I'm very proud of them and that I hope that they stay here and continue as students at St. Francis University. It's a great place to be educated. It's a great campus to be on. But I understand that students are here because we are Division I, and it's in a student athlete's DNA perhaps to be a D1 student, and we're placing resources and help at their disposal to help them and their families make a good decision for them. Again, I hope they all stay, but I know some of them might go, and we want to help make that process easier. So we have a website that's set up to answer all kinds of frequently asked questions regarding things like scholarships. I'm sure that's the first question out of a student athlete's mouth is, what happens to my scholarship? Those questions are being answered both on our website, and our staff is helping our students. I want to say also, especially, this is an institutional level decision. This was not a decision that was made by our Department of Athletics. At some point in the process, the Board of Trustees and I, after we had been doing a lot of analysis and discussion and so forth, we then brought athletics department, a limited number of senior staff, into the discussion. And believe me, they fought tooth and nail to stay Division I. And they made some very compelling arguments and made some very compelling cases. And believe me, as someone who's been here for 23 years, I appreciated all of their efforts. But in the end, it was an institutional level decision made by our Board of Trustees for the good of our student athletes and for the good of the culture of the campus. So, I want to really commend the senior athletic staff for really making the switch and really being good soldiers in this process now. The coaching staff has heard this today for the first time. When I met with our coaching staff and all of our athletic staff personally, I said to them, here again, it's not you, it's the world around us that has changed. Our coaches are great. Our coaches are mission-fit people who do a great job developing student athletes. And I've said to the coaching staff and all the athletic staff, I hope you stay. Because when we become a Division III institution, we want to be a powerhouse D3 school. So let's take this next year as D1, and you help us to retool and to envision what it looks like to be a winning D3 school. And I also said to them, but I get it if you don't want to stay. Because for many of our coaches and our athletic staff, it's about being in Division I. And I respect that and I admire that. Okay, but here again, we want to help our coaches through this process. They're hearing this for the first time today also. Okay, so again, the end game is to be a really competitive Division III institution in the President's Athletics Conference. There's a lot of Catholic and Christian schools in that conference. I look forward to rivalries with them. I look forward to a rivalry now against my sister school and alma mater, Franciscan University. We're going to beat them. I love you dearly, but we're going to beat you in athletics. And but in the meantime, in the here and now, it's about caring for our student athletes and helping our community to make a transition, hearing news that was unexpected and hearing news that they're hearing for the first time. Okay, so that's the broad picture of what we're doing. And with that, I will pause and open it up to any questions that members of our media may have. And again, I'll be the only one answering questions.
You said the coaches and athletes just learned today.
Yeah.
I know it's only a few hours, but any early indication on how the coaches responded in terms of staying? What you were talking about?
Right. Yeah, I met with the coaches today. I've not received any, commitments one way or the other. Like they're taking time to process this. This is a big piece of news that they're being hit with. And I want to commend our coaching staff and all of our athletic staff because they were very professional today to hear news that was not exactly the best of news for them. But they're very professional. They're very classy. And I give them credit too. They're working with their teams who are also hearing this news for the first time and really doing a good job of helping them. So at this point, early indicators is that people are handling the news as best they can. And we got some classy people here.
You talk about the world around, the
Yeah.
change, the NIL, the transfer portal. Can you give specifics, like just some examples of where St. Francis might have been facing obstacles or challenges that led to these kind of decisions?
Sure thing. I think the transfer portal is a great example. I spoke earlier of our basketball team, who I respect and admire. That's one of the teams where you see students entering the transfer portal. With our football program, which has made tremendous strides under Chris Valerio. Championships. At the end of each season, 20 to 30 football players enter the transfer portal. And when I say this, I respect the fact that student athletes want to improve their game and want to win championships. So I do not fault student athletes in any way for using a tool that is available to them. But when you're a small school, you then become a farm team for larger conferences. And at St. Francis, what we try to do, what our coaching staff tries to do, is take a student from freshman to senior year. We pride ourselves on developing students over a 4-year period of time. And the transfer portal doesn't always permit us to do that. Someone's here for a year or two and then out. Our tagline has become that someone. And one of the ways that a student becomes that someone is by being on campus for the full amount of time. A traditional undergraduate should be here for 4 years, take advantage of the campus, build relationships with their coach, their teachers, their friends. But a transfer portal makes it all about the business. And unfortunately, we're on the losing end of that. Again, it's good for the student, I respect that, but for what we're trying to do here mission-wise, it makes it very challenging.
What's some of the challenges with NIL? I saw a story, a national story, said this was great. St. Francis is in the tournament without any NIL money. I'm sure you look at it a little differently.
Well, I love that headline. I want to thank CBS News for reporting that story the way they did. It was great national headlines. And again, thanks to the men's basketball team. We were on the national stage last week for the first four. And CBS ran a great story, featuring us. And that's where, middle of nowheresville, Pennsylvania showed up in that article. But in the subheading, that's where it said school with zero NIL dollars makes the first four. That's a tribute to the coaching staff. That's a tribute to the hard work of our players, but it also speaks to the fact that we are disadvantaged. Our donor base is not one to give money for NIL. Our donor base has funded things like that football stadium, the turfed field, the track, the field house, so many things. But when it comes to NIL, we can't compete with institutions that can give 5, 6-figure payments to students to come play for them. We're just not into that. That's not our business model. That's not our mission. Not on that scale. So. Yes.
Do you anticipate a lot of athletes will enter the transfer portal, and what is going to be done to make our athletic program more appealing now that we're losing D1 status?
That's a great question. Again, at the end of the day, the student athletes are going to do what is best for them, and I respect that. And I know that our student athletes and their families are going to have, really a tough decision to make, especially the freshmen and the sophomores. So some of these, you can plan for all kinds of things, and believe me, we have, different scenarios that we've kind of played out here. What if this happens? What if that happens? When all is said and done, we're not going to know who's playing for us until we know. Okay, so it's going to take some time for folks to make their decisions. I would expect at the end of the semester we'll have a really good idea of who's coming back and who's not, and then we can respond appropriately. And that's in the short term. Obviously we're committed to playing D1 for one more year, and we want our student athletes to have that experience. On the longer term, it's about really channeling the resources to the athletics program so that we can have a robust Division III program. Our division program has been great. Again, kudos to our athletic staff. Someone said once that that St. Francis University is like the little engine that could. Okay, we are a small D1 school, and we managed to win some great championships and churn out some great D1 student athletes. In time, we will have a robust D3 program to which we will devote the proper resources for that. We want to have a full-time coaching staff. We want to have good facilities. We want our students to have a good travel experience, have the best gear that they can have. We're not going to run the D3 program on the cheap. All right, we're going to make resources available to make it a good one. Again, it's about the student-athlete experience and make it a really great one for them. So long-term, the resources will be there. Short-term, we won't know until we know, to see the rosters and so forth. So thanks for that question. Sir?
Was there any discussion about maybe going to Division II over Division III? How did you come to the decision of Division III?
Thanks so much for that question. I've been getting that question a lot. Why D3 versus D2, et cetera? Here again, for an institutional level decision, mission was very important for me, and I say that as president, and I say it also as a Catholic and Franciscan priest. Okay, so I wanted our institution to land in a conference that was going to be a good mission fit for us. The NEC has been great for us for all these years. There's 4 Catholic schools in it. There's schools that are like-minded when it comes to academics and athletics. It's been great. So what conference we landed in was very important to me. The President's Athletics Conference is made up of several schools that are Catholic, several schools that are Christian, share a common mission, and really have a lot of similarities. So for me, it was not about D2, D3. It was about what's the right conference to land in because of mission fit. So it was a much different lens that I looked at it through. So, and I say I because as president and priest, the place we landed in was very important. It has to align with our mission, and I believe that the PAC does. Thanks. Ma'am.
How will the enrollment of international students change since a lot of international students are here on scholarship?
That's a great question. And here again, it's going to be up to international students as to whether they stay, and I hope they do. I'm proud of the fact that we have so many countries represented here at St. Francis. But I have to say too, when you look at Division II and when you look at Division III rosters, those rosters have a lot of international students as well. Just a little anecdote, I was at a school in northern Maine on the Canadian border, and it's a school that came here to play us. It was Fort Kent, Maine. I forget if they're D2 or D3. Fort Kent, Maine is a logging town, and somehow their roster was full of Jamaican soccer players. Okay, and that was a D2 or D3 school. So I think it really comes down to having a good quality program that's going to attract great quality student athletes. And I know we can do that under this new model. So Our international students help to diversify the campus, and they help to make the place really interesting and so forth. So I don't see that changing. Maybe the type of student will change, but I still see, a great place for international students here. Absolutely. So thanks for that.
How did the conversations go with President's Athletic Conference Commissioner Joe Underco whenever you first brought up your idea and interest of potentially looking into the PAC?
That's great. No, I think that's a great question. And so there was some great behind-the-scenes discussion, and Commissioner Onderco has been commissioner of the PAC for 19 years. He's a great individual who really knows how to work with Catholic and Christian schools. So we had good conversation, and as they say in Seinfeld, yada yada yada. Here we are. Okay, so it was good discussion. Really good discussion, and he and the PAC were very welcoming towards us. They have a welcome sign up on their website, and I know they're excited to have us, and I'm excited to join them. So thank you. Sir.
When did these discussions really start to heat up about maybe potentially transfer from Division I to Division III as a part of just like a little side conversation? When did you really start to have meetings about this?
That's a great question. Because these are board level discussions, I don't want to get into the details of timeline and things like that. But I will say this: it was a discussion that was a very serious one that involved a lot of analysis, a lot of thoughts, a lot of back and forth, a lot of devil's advocacy, and so forth. So it was a decision that was very well made, and I'm proud of my board for that. And once the decision was made, it was time to announce it, because we have an obligation to our student athletes and to our community to communicate this well, knowing how it will impact them. And so this, it was a timely decision that was released in a timely fashion. So thanks. Other questions? Again, I want to thank the media for being here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions with anyone individually once we're through. But again, really want to say how proud I am of the university community. We have a great history in Division I. The bookend to that is our men's basketball appearance in the first four. So I'm proud of our student athletes. I'm proud of our athletics department and all our community members. This is a big change for St. Francis, and in the coming days, the focus really is going to be on our student athletes and our staff and their welfare. And in time, we are really going to be switching gears to become a championship Division III program. We are in Division I for one more year, and that will truly be a time of transition for us. So I want to thank members of the community for being here. I want to thank our media professionals for being here to cover this for us. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. Thank you. Thanks.